This is good, and if you like bacon, then come listen to us at Rated R.
Hello guys, Jolly shut up, hello guys, and welcome back to another Bamsters show. Guys, it is a glorious 10th of July, and today I have the G, the talk, and I have the beautiful, the lovely, the awesome Jolly Roger. Just between you and me, call him Chrissy Wissy, because he loves that name.
What are you talking about? Keep complimenting me, man. Keep going.
G, how are you today, mate?
I'm fine. It's a little bit warm down here, but it's bearable.
It is a little bit warm today. So, basically, guys, as what happens is we record a few days prior to this episode, show, launching. So, the first topic on me, and I'm going to start off this little chat today, is Ghana has launched a satellite called Ghana Satellite 1. It's probably just a potato, but they've launched a satellite into space. I didn't believe it until I read the article, and the article is on the BBC, and it looks like there's 3 dudes that built the satellite and sent it to space. It reminds me of what, I think it's Arizona University, where you can send a satellite into space for $4,000 or something stupid. I think the Ghanaians, if that's even the right way to say it, did exactly that. Apparently to monitor coastlines, but they really want to do is monitor mining operations, illegal mining operations, because Ghana is a very, very rich country in minerals and lumber and diamonds and gold and tin and copper and all those things that, countries need. So, yeah, that's my news tidbit there. What do you think about the Ghanaians? Ghanaians? Is that even the right way to say it? About launching a satellite. A fifth world country throwing a brick into space. That was a shock to me.
But that's down by the Gold Coast, and that's Accra, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. They did launch it with the, I think it's the European Space Agency launched it? I only glanced at the article, to be honest. Yeah, it was a brief curiosity, clicked, read a brief thing, and then moved on because I lost interest in it anyways. But you guys might find it interesting, so I brought that to your guys' attention. What? Come on. More.
Well, it's interesting for me because Ghana's actually an old colony of ours. So it's kind of, nice to see them do well.
Have you been to Ghana?
I haven't. That's part of the continent that I haven't been to. Would love to go, although.
No, you don't want to go to Ghana, mate.
Okay, things are a little bit of a mess these days, I've been told, politically and stuff. Slightly problematic, but I'm told that's only around the capital, and if you go away from that, it shouldn't be that bad.
Well, to be brutally honest, I know I'm trivializing the event here because, America, the European agencies, the Russian agencies, the Chinese and the Japanese agencies, and believe it or not, many other types of agencies around the world have launched things bigger and, more complex. And I shouldn't really trivialize it because the guys working on this probably worked their little souls, to the bone to get this satellite into space that will actually provide a genuine service for themselves and the country itself. So I shouldn't really trivialize it, but I really thought they would have donated more of the resources on this project, which cost like £40,000 or whatever, to, infrastructure of the actual country itself. But then that's getting into a whole different swing of politics and getting off the topic at hand. Ghana launched a satellite into space. Oh my god, that is amazing. Kind of funny, but it's more amazing than funny.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. How about you, Jolly? You guys launch rockets and satellites all the time. Are you just going, like completely blasé?
It kind of is. It's cool, though. I saw the picture of the development team behind the little satellite. It looks like a little Rubik's Cube, like you mentioned earlier. It's kind of tiny. I don't understand how it's $50,000.
Yeah, it's $50,000 US, but £40,000, something stupid. Yeah. It cost a lot of money. I know it costs space flight and space travel. You get charged by the weight, so how heavy the bit of kit you've got is how much it costs you to get the shit into space, as well as the development of the actual product itself. So I think it's probably in and around all of that. I'm not sure though. But then again, Jola, we all know that whenever Americans go to space, it's all fake and it's done on a soundstage. With a background. We all know that's fake.
How dare you? Go outside, when it's nice and dark, look up at the moon. How many flags are up there right now, brah?
Well, we know that's fake as well, mate. That's just a soundstage in Arizona or somewhere. We know that's fake, definitely.
Back to the topic of the Ghana, the peoples.
Just no, jolly. Didn't Buzz Aldrin kind of say the other day that it was actually fake?
He's an old man. He's trolling. People are getting trolled by an old man.
Yeah.
He doesn't care anymore. He's at that age where he's like, I don't care. You know, he can.
No, again, in all fairness, you can actually go buy yourself a telescope and then you can actually see the landing sites and the footprints and the little vehicle they use to get around the space. It's I know I take the piss a lot, but yeah, they did land on the moon, so, you know.
And as for what flag is up there, Jolly, it's a white one. There's a white flag on the moon.
Yes, it's white now, mate. Yeah, surrender. It's bleached by the sun, mate. It's white.
You go up there, you take a picture, and then we'll say it's a white flag. It's red, white, and blue, brah.
The red and the blue have been bleached because it's been hit by the solar winds and the, the sunshine. Well, quite literally. Lots and lots of it all the time. So it is white.
So what you're saying is America made a whole moon surrender just from a couple people landing on it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Jolly, I'm saying exactly that. The moon surrendered. Yes, Jolly, the moon surrendered.
But in all honesty, it's cool. It's only a small little cube that they sent up into space, but I mean, it's going to be something. It's like an opening. So, like I think in the article it says something like it's a doorway to the future or something. I think it's kind of more like a window. But yeah, what I'm really looking forward to is the movies that's going to come out of it.
Fair enough.
Because I am American, and we would much rather go and watch a movie than read about it.
You prefer the pictures in the storybook rather than the words.
Exactly. If it pops up, even better.
I didn't actually think you were going there, but okay, you went there.
I mean, they have an awesome thing going on, like right there. Like, would you know anything about like the Jamaican bobsled team if it wasn't cool running out there? Like, come on, cool flying. It writes itself.
Okay. This is a very good point.
You know you'd watch it.
When I first watched Cool Runnings, it was a great film. It was all about comedy, Jamaicans going to a cold place, and it was a great film. It still is a good film today, and it holds up today as well. It still holds up in today's modern movie type bits and pieces. It still holds up. Good film.
And Matt Damon's going to be like the lead star in it too. It just has to be.
Well, Matt Damon is a very good actor, even though I know I take the piss out of him because South Park, because Matt Damon.
South Park?
Yeah, South Park take the piss out of Matt Damon, constantly.
I'll take your word for it. That's the one where one of the kids keep dying, right?
Yeah, Kenny.
Did they kill Kenny?
Please tell me you haven't, you don't watch South Park, do you?
No, I tried once, it wasn't good. Stopped.
Well, is this the episode where Belgium tried to launch something called Troll Trace? And South Park went to town on Troll Trace.
No, it was something about a school and a pedophile teacher. And it wasn't particularly fun.
You mean Mr. Garrison? He's actually president of America now.
They keep saying something about Kilkenny, and then I keep going to the bar and, drinking a Kilkenny. It doesn't work.
That tends to happen at the end of the series, end of the episode. So you've gone through a few then. Happy days. So go on then, guys. What else have we got on the news listing today?
Well, since we have an American here, I figure we should, there's a big American event thingy coming up that's going to mess up the internet for all of us.
Oh, the net neutrality thing, like coming back up, right?
Yeah, apparently all the companies in America are going to switch off on the 12th. Because America is messing up their net neutrality. So what's that got to do with the rest of us, 95% of the planet?
I understand why they're doing it. I don't believe, Comcast, whatever freaking cable company, whatever have you, should prioritize one service over the other. That, I believe, is wrong. Net neutrality, I'm all for that. Because without net neutrality, we wouldn't have half the things on the internet we do now. I mean, think of it. Pornhub will be so slow. God.
Yeah, and should we take it a little bit personal? We're small content creators. We're on the internet. If they slow us down, we're not going to get any list. Okay, that's not going to work.
We would have something to blame finally, man. Like, we would finally have... It's that stupid net neutrality. That's what it was.
Yeah, we can blame net neutrality for the fact we got no listeners.
But seriously, if it happens here, it's gonna happen to you guys too.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's what they call the big cable companies over in the US. So AT&T, I think, is one of them. Verizon, Comcast, pretty much everybody above a certain level who provides internet wants this. And there's a few of them that want it especially because then they can say, well, you shouldn't use Netflix. You should use our service for watching movies. And that way they can, push Netflix out. And Bamm, I'm sorry to say, it is already in Europe, and we actually have a fairly broken net neutrality rule set in Europe. So they've implemented something called net neutrality at the European Commission and EU, but they kind of made a mess of it. It's not quite as good as it could be, should we put it that way? Like, there's some good things in there, and there's some less good things. Like, we don't have rules that says, companies can sell all your browsing history. Like, they can just track every website you go to and then sell that information to anybody who wants it. That's not going to fly here in Europe. But they can do a prioritization of net traffic. So they can prioritize some net traffic over others, which could mean, your wife is watching one thing and you're watching another thing, and they'll prioritize the things she's watching so yours gets slower.
I'm going to get right on that. I'm with you, man. I want net neutrality. Like, I don't want to pay more money. I'm good paying the money I'm paying now. I don't want to pay more.
But then there's some headaches about, what can the EU actually regulate. So the law's a bit funky. It's not optimal. But it's settled. There's no more net neutrality debate in Europe at this point. We didn't get a good result, but we got a not bad one. Meanwhile, the US, they're just going to fuck themselves over at this point, because they instigated it. This, what was his face? That came from one of the telecom companies who became the head of the FCC, and then a British person on American TV called him a dingo. And he said he wasn't, and then he introduced this Title II thing that's basically saying, no, you have to deliver internet the same way the mail delivers mail. Like, US Postal delivers mail according to a set of rules that says they can't prioritize postal packages. Internet providers have to do the same. And that's what they're bitching about.
You guys will have it. Don't worry. Like, it'll happen to you. Like, I want to say it just came out that Netflix has more subscribers than cable in the United States at the moment. So it is kind of, it's like a kind of coincidence that all of a sudden this is like coming right back up. Cable companies are losing those subscribers. They're losing money to Netflix. So they want that money back. They at least want a portion of it. And like, that's another thing. They don't have to just go after the customers. Like, they can force the companies themselves to pay more money to send the traffic to the people.
And if we take, just because there might be people like in the UK and England who are kind of still confused, it would be a little bit like saying if you have Sky as a network provider, then Sky's online services run a lot better, and you can watch. They have some TV services, as far as I remember. That works just perfect. You can watch it in HD, but if you want to watch Amazon Prime, you can only watch the SD version, or the low-quality version, unless you pay extra. Or if you want to watch Netflix, you also have to pay your service provider a little bit extra. That would be annoying.
Like, recently, Netflix actually said, it was like one of the meetings they have, the yearly annual meetings. Like, they said net neutrality wouldn't actually kill their business. Like, they could, or no net neutrality, it wouldn't kill them. They could still make it. Like, they're big enough, they could pay the money if they had to. They don't want to, but they could. It would screw over the less funded. Definitely.
Well, believe it or not, I agree. You shouldn't be able to prioritize internet services and whatever have you, based purely on the fact of your greed. And I know the FCC, when it comes down to this, was overruled by a judge saying this is not an FCC issue, whatever have you. And this is what's opened the floodgates with the whole bits and pieces. But I don't think it should be dictated to a greedy company that wants more money. And because they want their service to beat Netflix. I mean, let's face it, Netflix are bloody brilliant. Amazon is bloody brilliant. I've got both services, and I love both services. They're just as good as each other. I don't see why one should be prioritized over the other. for any reason. If I want to watch Netflix, I want to watch Netflix. If I want to watch Amazon, I'll watch Amazon. I'm not going to get a Comcast bloody thing because Comcast.
Yeah, I think Geek, are they selling stuff dealing with net neutrality by any chance? Because, I mean, it's like a merchandise site, a geeky one at that, and net neutrality is definitely a geeky topic. Most people wouldn't know anything about it.
Oh, let's face it. If Pornhub switch off, oh my god, there's going to be a lot of pissed off dudes in America, and chicks in America as well. I can't just say dudes, got to be chicks as well. In America, they will instantly vote net neutral. Pornhub switches off, oh my god, America will go into meltdown.
Just think about the people at Reddit. They're not nice people. That's not going to be a fun thing to be at the end of. I mean, not going to be a fun thing to be at the end of the people who are frustrated due to Pornhub being closed, but that's for a different topic.
Listen, the people on Reddit have another browser another tab for Pornhub. If you switch off Pornhub and Reddit, oh my god, there's gonna be a meltdown, mate. Oh my word. There will be an instant vote. Presidents will fall. Counties will burn. Fire trucks will become fire trucks. Oh, good lord. America will go into meltdown. Do not switch off Pornhub. Do not switch off Reddit. Good god.
I was almost waiting for you to go cats and dogs living together.
Well, not that bad. Not that bad. Let's face it, not that bad.
But anyways, if the internet feels weird on July 12th, that's because the Americans are doing stupid things again.
Yeah, once again, this isn't the first time. It's like a really bad movie. Like, this is the sequel. This is like the third or fourth time we've had to do this.
I think it is the third time that you guys have, well, not you guys, greedy people in companies that happen to be based in America want more money because their movie provider, internet site, whatever have yous, aren't generating as much money as other companies such as Netflix, Pornhub, Reddit, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, if you can't compete with somebody, just pay somebody to change the rules. It's pretty much how it ends up.
Sadly, yes, but I might suggest an old adage. If you can't beat them, join them.
Are we still talking about Pornhub and Red?
Yes, I am. Yes, Pornhub is the Pornhub. What's Pornhub? No, look, if you can't beat them, buy shares in their company. Done. There we go. Done. I get what these people make stupid. Anyway, enough. We'll get off the topic.
And similar to what we were just now talking about, criminal perverts. Have you heard about the thing in Australia? The Elon Musk guy is building a giant battery over there, man.
Elon Musk is building a battery in Australia.
I think you said it was like like grid size or something like that.
Bamm, not size like Grid Breather, our colleague who's kind of small, but like sized for powering a power grid, like electrical grid. Like this thing is big enough to help supply power to 30,000 homes.
Okay, right. Is this the same thing as that vacuum tunnel tube thing that had a mile to run and only one of them completed it? What's one called? Hyperloop.
Hyperloop is a pipe dream that won't work. This is actual batteries that they will be installing within the next couple of months. Like, they apparently just signed the contract, and the Twitter exchange, because that's where they started this damn negotiation, Musk came out and said something like, if it's not installed in 100 days, you get it for free.
Now you've piqued my interest. When what?
Yeah, this was back when Australia, well, I'm sure they're still having them, but like the rolling blackouts over there, you know? And it was like Elon jumped on Twitter and he made the proposal. And then somebody over in Australia who said they were connected to politicians was like, well, I know so-and-so. Let's get this done.
There's got to be more context to that, because that just sounded like two dudes talking at a bar with a couple of pints, drinking. Haha.
That's absolutely what it looked like. It's an actual Twitter conversation. Elon put a message up. Guy in Australia was like, I know some people. You can do it. Let's do it. And like they actually got in contact. Like, and yeah, it's happening apparently.
I still need more context, Jolly. You're building a battery. Why are you building a freaking battery? Okay, the first of all, a first world country having blackouts, constant blackouts, from what I've been told. Why are you having blackouts? Do you guys get 98% sunshine? Surely you guys believe in something called solar power? I don't understand. Explain. Please enlighten this ignorant person before you, Jolly.
That's a very difficult thing to do if we're talking about Bamm Havoc, my favoriteest person in the world. But I would imagine why I don't know why they're having blackouts, man. But I'm kind of imagine maybe it's back on that greedy company thing, like they don't want to upgrade their infrastructure, possibly, maybe.
Bam, you do know Australia's kind of big, right? Particularly when you get out to, like, the Southwest Territories.
Big, yes.
It's not exactly small. So the grid is huge for the amount of houses it's covering. And that's kind of part of their problem. Like, shit just breaks. It's that big. But also, yeah, they've skimped a little bit on building the grid, so it's failing on the grids. Like, wires are just not good enough. And then it's just, they only have as much power as they need, so when somebody turns off on an extra heater or an extra cooler or whatever they need, depending on the time of year, things just get overloaded. So it's about adding a little bit more capacity and adding some more, if they're not adding generation, then at least being able to use the power when it's being generated. So it's a giant wind farm they have somewhere it's working okay, but they're adding then all these batteries to the wind farm, so when the wind farm produces extra power, the batteries get charged, and when there's a hiccup somewhere, the batteries get discharged. So they kind of work as a backup.
So like a massive capacitor bank?
Yeah, it's a huge, except it's going to be like a lithium polymer thing. Think used batteries from, is it a Toyota or something they're going to take them from? Like they're refurbing batteries and using those. And
you're talking about the Prius or Prius?
I don't think it's a Prius. It's another one they said they got them from. But it's the same idea. It's from one of those hybrid cars. They're taking the battery packs, refurbing them, putting them into buildings, a lot of buildings, along with some control software and various things that connects to electrical grids. Don't want to get too technical. And whenever there's an outage or brownout, or whenever just there's more requirements than capacity or production, they can dump those batteries onto the net and hold, I think somebody said it was 8 hours they could keep 30,000 buildings or 30,000 homes running.
Okay. I heard blackout, and then I heard brownout. Now, I don't know about you, but to me that means I'm going to go take a dump.
When the poo hits
the fan.
hits the fan is when you're in blackout stage. Seriously, though, what's the difference?
What is the difference? Because I'm thinking the same as Jolly. When the shit's about to hit the fan, that's the brownout.
Okay, for Bam's sake, a blackout is if you're getting no power. A brownout is if the voltage drops below a certain point. And it's called a brownout because light dims, so you can literally see your lights if you have regular ones dim. If you have electronic ones like LEDs or what have you, they'll just switch off.
Okay, so your voltage drops, you have a brownout, and your voltage cuts off completely to blackout. Right, so brownout quite literally means the shit's about to hit the fan. Happy days, that's exactly what it means. Boop, there we go. Thank you, G.
That's what I gathered from that too.
See, my education from 20 years ago is worth it.
And it looks like we're about ready to black out the news for this episode and get into early access.
You may have found this Bamsters podcast by accident, but make no mistake. It's no accident that we're talking, even when you're not listening. So, when you think about it, you really have no reason or no excuse not to hit that subscribe button. Go ahead, do yourself a favor. Hit the subscribe button.
Goody, I think we're back. Jolly, you brought up an interesting one just before where you said we'll get into some early access. And I think that's a good topic to take. Let's dig into just what is early access and what are the games doing in early access? Why are they there, and are they ever gonna come out?
Yeah, that's a hobby of mine, definitely, is playing the video games, and I've noticed more and more of the games I've been playing are considered early access, and I'm kind of curious why. Why is so much stuff early access now instead of just fully launched games? I'm sure everybody here has played numerous early access games, whether you knew it or not?
I do. I play 2, Killing Floor and Paragon. Paragon and Killing Floor both PlayStation 4 titles, and I play them. They were early access, and they're now into beta, I believe, so PlayStation's not picked them up, and they're fun games.
Yeah, I was looking on Steam recently. Like, I don't know how much you play on PC exactly, but like 3 of the top 10 most played games right now. Like, I looked for the list of today, like concurrent players today. 3 of the top 10 were early access games. And I'm wondering, if you have that much population, like that many people playing your game, how are you still early access? I thought that was like pre-beta type stuff.
You see, this is where I don't necessarily believe in early access. I honestly think that some companies will keep it in early access just so that you can buy the game and keep the developers fed and developing and making things. So the game essentially has a 10-year lifespan, but the only way to get the 10-year lifespan is to keep it to early access. I know that's a bit disjointed, but the game will never be completed. Ever, ever, ever. And the only way for them to make more content is for you to buy stuff in the game, that sort of thing. That's my whole take on the whole early access thing. I don't think that half the games on early access should be early access. They should be full launch games. Paragon's one of them. Killing Floor's another one. They're great games. Granted, Killing Floor can do with a graphics overhaul, but they're great games. Great games. Paragon is frustrating to play, but great games.
But I think that's where you kind of hit it fairly well on the head. Early access and beta are sort of the same, except people now expect beta to mean the game is released or about to be released, and this is just a nice demo. But beta means it's not done, and early access just means it's not done. They kind of have the same area of coverage. And these early access games that we're looking at, I mean, I took the same look as Jolly did. Things like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Ark Survival and H1Z1. They're making good money, and at some point they need to leave early access. But at the same time, there are games that, I don't know about Ark, but the other ones, they needed early access, they needed the money, they needed to be able to go out and say, we're buggy as shite, and just play us anyway.
So it's kind of like a paid beta. Like, instead of just, because betas seem like they're, I mean, if it's not a pre-order beta, then like you don't usually have to pay for the beta. Is early access just like a paid beta?
Or a paid alpha, or a paid pre-alpha. I mean, some of the stuff that's on there, you said half of it should be released, the other half shouldn't even be anywhere near it. There's a lot on there that's just not good quality.
So it's like just a way for people to cash in a little bit, maybe? Like maybe the Bamsters here, we could come up with some ideas, maybe kick some ideas around, make a game, put it up on early access, make a little money?
I think we actually have that in one of our proposed episodes coming up. But yeah, I mean, if you're sitting there's 5 people who needs to feed. They need, roof over their head, they need a bed, they need some food. They need money. You can either go out and keep a 9 to 5 and then program at night and when you should be sleeping or whatever. Or you go out and go early access and say, look, our game is not good, but, pay us and help us develop it and make it better.
But gee, that's what alphas and betas are for. Alphas and betas are for that exact reason. You release the game to, play testers and whatever have you. And yes, I understand some companies don't have the money to pay companies to play test the game and flush it through with all the design faults and dynamics and game mechanics and whatever have you. And I understand sometimes they can make a little bit extra money by saying, yes, play our game, pay us for it, so we can actually make the game better. But you mentioned anyone, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, that will never leave early access because they're making too much goddamn money. Too much money.
Wrong. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, actually, that's one of the fastest, games to launch in early access and actually come out of early access, to me.
It's out of early access. Right. Apologies.
Not yet. It's supposedly supposed to come out of early access by October.
Well, okay, look, I don't play PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, whatever have you. I don't play it. I watch a lot of it on the internet, thanks to YouTube playthroughs, and it looks like a lot of fun. It reminds me of DayZ, but
because there's still bugs in the damn thing?
DayZ, another early access game.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. DayZ in the early access game never came out of early access, I don't think. Not that I paid much attention to it. Anyway, it's a team deathmatch version of DayZ, if you think about it in that sort of context. And I don't think they'll ever come out of early access because, again, they're making too much goddamn money. Why come out of early access where the game will launch, and because people have played it half to death, the game will launch, make a couple of sales, and then they're going to develop another game. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. You see? So that's my take on it. I'd much rather companies use betas as betas. I can point to the AAA titles when I say this. A lot of companies like EA, BioWare, Blizzard and all that stuff use betas nowadays as advertisement pieces for the games because the betas are so well polished and so well made and so close to the launch date of the game, you're not actually going to change anything to the actual game itself because it's just got no time for it. The dev teams have already moved on to other projects.
Yeah, like G said earlier, it's like I'm guessing like AAA games, beta is considered a demo, and maybe early access is just indie people's territory.
I would agree there as well. It would be like a paid beta, but case in point, we interviewed Shut, who made a game called Riskers in 10 months. Alright? That's a bloody good game. It's a lot of fun to play. Okay? He made that in 10 months, and he's now moving on to his next project when this game launches.
On the note of PlayerUnknown, Battlegrounds, DayZ, a couple of these early access games. Like, I want to say DayZ had like a Hunger Games style game mode where you just drop in, kill each other type stuff. The dude who created PlayerUnknown's Battleground, PlayerUnknown, actually he worked on that mod too, on the DayZ Hunger Games mode that they had. He also went over and he made the mod for H1Z1, King of the Kill. And then after that, he moved on and made his own, which was Battlegrounds. So yeah, he is jumping around, but I think this is actually his game. It's not another person's game that he worked on. Yeah, other people helping him, but I think this is his more than the other ones where it was just like a mod that he helped work on. This is the one where he's getting the profit. So I could definitely see him sticking with this. Because, I mean, they're supposed to launch on consoles too. Also, another reason I think they're coming out of early access, because at the last E3, Xbox did have PlayerUnknown I'm not saying it anymore. I'm just going to say Battlegrounds. They had Battlegrounds on the stage, said it was going to be a console launch exclusive to Xbox. And I think the reason it's going to be console launch exclusive, Xbox actually has a preview program, which is essentially their early access. That's where Arc got on Xbox before PlayStation, because PlayStation says something along the lines of they only want polished games on the PSN. So I'm kind of thinking they'll come out of early access so they can hurry up and get on the PlayStation too, because how many PlayStations are out there right now?
Like 55 million PlayStation 4s out there now? Probably more. In fact, I'm sure there's more. And how many Xbox Ones?
Well, it's going to be launch exclusive to the Xbox One X. Isn't that what they're calling it now?
I don't know. Scorpio, they should have gone with, just stuck with Scorpio. X1, X1, 1X, whatever, is just...
I like Scorpio too.
Scorpio's a much better name.
But yeah, I think it's coming out, it's launching with the new Xbox. Not the, I don't know if it's going to be on Xbox One.
Well, you see, when it comes to consoles, the best way to sell hardware is software. And if this Battle Unknown player, whatever have you, is as popular as it is, that software will make people go and buy that new Xbox.
I mean, I could see people actually, I don't know why you just wouldn't make a PC for the money you'd be buying an Xbox One for, but I could actually kind of see people who have been watching people play it on Twitch, because it is one of the most played or the most viewed games on Twitch currently. It's in the top 5, I think. Which I think H1Z1 is also in the top 10, and a couple other early access games are in the top 10 of most viewed.
I'll just jump in and say the PS5 is basically announced. It's been confirmed they're working on it.
So I'm guessing maybe like the next PlayStation Experience or something like that. Go ahead and show us the next black box with a 5 on it.
That's essentially what it is nowadays, but then you can put it to all tech. You know, everything's black, box-shaped, and got tech in it. But we're getting off topic. We're talking about early access, not consoles. But we're talking about consoles that can run early access games. Blah, blah. We're getting way off piste, getting back on it a bit, and going way off piste again.
Bam, let me kind of tell you a story of a small early access game. Factorio. Have you ever seen that? I know your good mate Pyrex has been playing it.
You mean Pyrex is alive? But I didn't know. I thought Pyrex had died.
I don't know if he's alive, but he's been playing it. Well, it's one of those games that look really fun, and it's been... I had to look this up. It actually released in some form back in 2012. And then it went on Indiegogo to get some money in 2013. Then it released what they kind of sort of called early access in 2014. So people could start buying it. And then they went to Steam Early Access in 2016. And end of this year, it will finally release. It's been 5 years getting that game out.
Okay. Is the game complex? How many people are in that team? You know, I understand that some games are just too complex for one person to do. Alright, and I do appreciate the fact that sometimes one man can only do so much, so it does take him 5 years to do it. I understand this. But when you have a team of people, say 10, 20, 30, you know, surely you can develop a game a little bit quicker than 5 years. And I know I shouldn't be really saying this, not being a developer, but thankfully, to the grace of the gods, I've been to a development house, and everybody's busy, everybody's working, and they had like, what was there, 50-odd people working on this one particular game, and this game was hard to do. And everyone was busy, all the 2 floors. So 25 on each floor. Yeah.
Back to my earlier point, Bamsters should have an early access game. I'm saying it now. You said maybe in a future episode, I want to see a Bamsters early access game. I think we can pop one out in about 5 to 7 years, maybe.
Bamsters early access. The quest for bacon.
There you go. Bamsters EA. You throw EA in there, people, well, they'll hate it, honestly. But another game like that was 7 Days to Die. I actually bought that on the PS4. And then I found out it came out like 2013 on Steam, I think. It came out as early access, and I looked on there today. It's still early access, 2013. It's still, and I didn't see any like announcement of, we're coming out of early access. It's so.
You see, this is where I don't necessarily agree with early access. Again, we're going back into this whole conversation again. It's a case of sometimes people just stay in early access because they need the revenue, and they're too afraid to move on to another project because there won't be as much or if any revenue at all. And I appreciate that. I really do, because far be it for me to put someone out on the street, you know, no roof, no foods, you know, God. But it is annoying when you see this game's been in early access for 5 years. I mean, case in point, G, that prison game you keep railing on about. How long has that been early access for?
Okay, so that's Prison Architect. That was, I think it stayed in early access for 3 years. But here's a fun one, because when you say people are afraid of moving onwards, that's Introversion Software. And they released early this year, or was it late last year, they went to actually release state and then said, we're making a new game. And they released it recently called Scanner Sombra. And it tanked. Like, they sold 4,000 copies. Prison Architect, they sold 200,000.
Oh, shit. Was it a complete break from the game style that they'd worked on for 3 years? Was it a completely different game?
Oh yeah, people kept saying, you should have made Park Architect, Hospital Architect, Airport Architect. You know, they should have stayed in that style. But Scanner Sombra is a first-person view VR-supported game where all you're doing is moving through a completely dark cavern. And you have the scanner, and it illuminates the cavern walls, illuminates objects, a boat, etc., and it shows you where things are. So you scan a little bit and then move forward, and that's the whole game. There's a story to it as well. You're trying to escape something. But it's, instead of building things, it's a 2-hour experience.
Well, you said it's VR only? Is that what you... or
No, it's VR support, so there's some functionality that's VR specific, but the game works fine without.
Well, my understanding is Prison Architect is a fun game. My question is, why didn't they do Airport Architect, or I don't know, Train Architect, or the tycoon type games, whatever have you? Surely they had a base they could then go from and then leapfrog into something, in this sort of genre. Because to be honest, it is a complete departure from what it sounds like to what they had. It was a complete departure.
Yeah, so going that route, going and say, okay, we'll make airport or hospital architect. They would have a code base, they would have graphics, they would have a customer base. They would have all those things. It would be easy. That's why they didn't do it.
So they did it for the challenge rather than the paycheck.
Well, they did have some expectation, and there's a whole YouTube video. I recommend people check it out, where they kind of go, oh, why this messed up? But where they're basically saying they didn't want to do the same again. It wasn't so much the challenge, it's just, we've been doing this for a while, now we want to do something else. And we assumed because we had success that we could have success again. Of course, lightning strikes twice.
From my understanding is that the the development team, rather, had success with Prison Architect. I have seen some videos of them. They're like monthly update videos. They were quite interesting. You could learn a lot about the game. I didn't like the game. It's not my particular style. This VR one sounds more my style, I would have probably bought that if I had a PC that could run the damn thing.
Yeah, and I would say, just people go on, check out Scanner Sombra. It actually looks good. I haven't played it because it doesn't support my machine, but it's so much different from what they did, and they just weren't able to sell it. They weren't able to sell the idea.
Well, let's be honest here, G. When you say it doesn't support your machine, buttered toast couldn't support your machine, mate. All right, so yeah, that's not really saying much compared to my clockwork laptop, where I have to wind it up every couple of hours. Yeah.
But no, it's just, these are some of the interesting stories to see. Like, they stayed in early access because they weren't happy about Prison Architect up until a certain point, and then said, we have to stop and move on. Subnautica is doing the same. They've been in early access for 3 years. And if you go back and read the message they put out when they said, we're going into early access, it starts with, isn't that where games go to die? Yes, it is. And now they're proud to announce, well, they didn't die. They are coming out and they're right now just polishing off the game and making sure that it's good enough. And it will come out in, a couple of months, end of this year. So Subnautica is one of those stories. They don't just stay there for the money. They stayed there because the game wasn't finished. They didn't have a story until now. Prison Architect stayed there until the game was good enough for the developers. I don't quite know. I can see Ark Survival Evolved is about to come out. That seems to be one of those where they've just given up and said, yeah, we don't want to do any more work. We're going to call it released.
Now, that's an interesting comment there. So, you're saying that Subnautica is now coming out of early access, and then when you buy the full game, it'll have a story? Or was there no story in the early access? Is there a paywall to the story is what I'm trying to get at. Because the people have already spent money on Subnautica, I reckon quite a few have. Now, are Subnautica developers putting a paywall in front of the story?
Oh no, we actually have a review of Subnautica of it about a year ago in early access. At that time, there was no story. If you play it now, there's some story element, but the story isn't complete. And upon release, the game will have all of it. And even the build we have, the key we have, will update. So if you bought the game during early access, you're getting the full experience once it releases. So if you're like me and haven't played the game for a year, go back, end of this year and play it again, because there will actually be a story, an explanation why you're there, all the little life pods that you are finding, why are they there, who were in them, etc. And why are there people up on the land? All those things are getting explained, and there's an actual out. So they're just adding to it.
If you buy an early access game, it isn't like when it launches you have to rebuy it. Like, you have access to it. Like, since you've already bought the game while it was in early access. Like, I bought Ark when it first came out in early access. I only played it like 8 hours on my PC, but when it launches, it's still going to be there. It's the full game. However, I think Ark may be the only early access game I've ever really heard about that had paid DLC while it was still in early access.
Wait, what? So, to get the updated version, you had to pay for it again?
It was a separate map that they were like, it was right after they had some legal issues, so they needed money. And I want to say the map was supposed to be free originally, but they had the legal issues, and they lost. So they had to pay a decent amount of money. So the map all of a sudden became paid DLC. So there is definitely people who bought early access that don't have that map and will never have that map.
I've seen a few having DLC in the form of cosmetics. So you can buy cosmetics even if it's in early access. I don't think I've seen anywhere the game itself has to be rebought. I think, particularly in Steam, that's not even possible. Like, the keys stay the same. If you get a title on Steam, you only get that one title and you have to update it. You'll have to request a new title and everything if you wanted to do the thing with having people rebuy stuff. Some of the press copies we get from games will have that. There will be a separate game for the press copy. But most of them, even then, is the full game.
You see, why am I so cynical when it comes to early access? I think it's just my cynicism, because I just see early access as a money pit. You know, you're buying a game that's probably going to take 3 years to come to fruition, or you're buying a game that's doomed to die, as Jolly mentioned. I think I'm just being cynical about it.
I think a lot of people are. You can either see it as, it's a money grab, it's an early money grab, but a lot of these are indies who need the money. Oh, we're not talking Grand Theft Auto here, we're talking indie devs. A lot of them are just, people who are not going to finish the game because they don't have the experience, let's use that word. People who are inexperienced and don't understand all the work, and for that reason, there's a lot of games in early access. There are thousands of them at this point, and they are never going to come out.
Yeah, there was an article a year or two ago, I think. I can't remember the website that put it out there. I think it said something along the lines of less than 25% of the games actually exit early access.
That sounds about right, yeah, and I think the average age is something like 3 years.
I'm curious, though, how much money do those companies that never left early access, how much have they made? I'm back on the topic of Bammster's early access game here, if you didn't catch my drift.
Okay. What you probably find, they're making a lot more than what they care to admit.
I think a lot of them are making a lot less than they would care to admit, because people are skipping early access games.
That's understandable. What's that space game? It's not Eve, but it's Eve-like. Star Citizen or something? Is that considered an early access game? How many hundreds of millions has that game gotten into it?
Oh, God knows, but didn't Star Citizen have, legal ramifications and nearly tanked?
I'd have to look up.
I have no clue. I just know there's a subreddit, because I do enjoy Reddit, and there's a subreddit, and all the people in it are super happy when there's another 100 million put in the pot. Yay, more people drunk the Kool-Aid, yay! That's all I see when I see those posts.
But I don't think they count as released yet. But you're right, that is an example of just a money grab upon money grab upon money grab.
I mean, they have an excuse. I was like, space is ever expanding. We have to keep working. We can't finish. It's still expanding. So it kind of makes sense, right?
They're not going to No Man's Sky it, are they?
I wouldn't go that far, man. That's a rough spot for a lot of people. I think it's better not to mention No Man's Sky. I'm still a little hurt on that game.
I think with Star Citizen, they have the opposite problem that a lot of the other ones have. A lot of early access games tank because they don't get the amount of money that is required simply to keep programming. People end up having to go work at McDonald's instead of developing the game. Star Citizen had too much money and therefore ended up with too much ambition. And therefore started up. They had several offices here in Europe alone. 3 or 4 offices. They couldn't afford that many people, ultimately. And you can't control anybody who's been working on managing projects. No, there's a level of detail that you can work to, and a level of people, the amount of people that you can work to. One game having as many modules and components as that game had, and just keep bloating as it kept on doing, no, that was bound to fail. And that's why they've closed offices and they've closed down modules and said, we're not going to make this part, or this thing's not going to get out. So Star Citizen, very much the opposite problem of a lot of other early access games.
Yeah, okay, right. Early access is a very, very large debate, and a lot of people have varied opinions about it. Guys, this is our little opinion piece on early access games. Thank you very much for listening to us, guys. I hope you guys have a great 10th of July. I will see all you crazy guys next week. Much love. I'm out. Bye.
Ciao.
That was a good one.
We're gonna try and take them out with pistols first. I guess if we shoot while that damn vibration's going, they won't hear the shot as long as they don't see him go down. Well, let's see. I just shot that dude. Ah, fuck.
Lass mich nicht durch. So. Ab in Deckung.